Let's do this.
It's time for Hangin' with Langan.
I like that she's got a big dirty mouth that gets her in trouble.
Wow.
Stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time.
Okay.
Maureen Langan here, Hanging with Langan. Welcome. Part 2 of my riveting conversation with writer, teller of tall tales, one-time bar owner, everything, author of A Monk Swimming, just re-released or about to be re-released, Malachy McCourt. Thanks for hanging with me.
Here I am, Maureen.
Here I am, Maureen. You crack me up. I want to get to the book. We talked about in part 1 your childhood, the poverty, some of your background, and what precipitated, the issues of deprivation. So let's talk about A Monk Swimming. You come back to America. You're born in Brooklyn, grow up in Limerick, Ireland. You come back to the United States, I believe, in 1952.
Right.
And you take New York by storm. You are quite the boisterous man about town. You get by on charm times 1,000. I mean, the book, I can't even believe the things I'm reading. I'm like, and we're going to get to some of those. I'm like laughing aloud. Talk about A Monk Swimming, the time period that it covers.
I will. First of all, I tell people what the title comes from. Mm-hmm. And it is that from the prayer, very well known to Catholics, the Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou amongst women. And when I was a kid, as you know, we mishear things. Mm-hmm. So I thought it said, instead of amongst women, I thought it said a monk swimming. And that's how that's called a mondegreen. It's a new word in the English language, which was coined by a woman poet, because we all mishear. Right? I led the pigeons to the flag, and the kids say for the Pledge of Allegiance, and lead us not into Penn Station, many people say, and so on. And so that was that's
the title.
That's what I thought.
I used to wonder if the Corinthians were like the Fallopians. All right. Just wondered.
So Frank wrote, my career started, I got a job as a dishwasher, of course. When I arrived, I met some people I came on the boat, the America, and I got a job as a dishwasher. And then I went in the service for a while, and I wandered into a theater one night, and they were doing some Irish plays, and I thought, Jesus, it'd be great to be an actor. So I left the theater and walked down at 60th Street. Theater East it was, and I made a U-turn and went back in, and there was a guy putting up some posters. So I said, who's the boss here? Well, he said, if you're looking for the producer, I am. So it was a guy named Dermot McNamara, and I said, could I join your group? I thought it was like you did amateur theater. You joined up. I didn't realize, it's a professional off-Broadway theater. But in any case, he said, do you have any experience? Oh, I said I wouldn't need it. I'm Irish. And he said. So he said, do you have pictures? I said, I have a picture of the Sacred Heart of Jesus in my wallet, autographed. So anyway, I couldn't resist saying rubbish like that.
Love it.
Anyway, he asked me to come back and read for them, and I did. And then
I just love that you just had this. I'm walking through the door. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I love that you tease him about what picture you have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick aside. My sister had to go. She anyway, we were at Columbia. She had a graduate class, and it was Shakespearean scholars. She's not one. She just had to go to this thing. It was required. So I come from my stand-up. I'm in a pink top and boots, and I get in the elevator, and this man with the tweed and the loafers, he's a Shakespearean scholar, just like that. And he says to me, "I beg your pardon, are you a scholar?" I said, "No, but I'm very, very smart." My sister says, "Please, Maureen, please don't get him going."
Modestly.
But you have these people like it's so. Anyway, it just makes me laugh to needle. So I appreciate that. So what I love is that you had this sense of self, this boisterous self that just walked in and said, "I want to be a part of this acting company," and you start doing plays with them.
And then a fellow named Tom O'Malley. Oh yes, I used to go around the corner to a bar, and so this guy Tom O'Malley was on the he was a booker for the Tonight Show. So when I went into this bar, I used to bring the audience with me, and the guy that owned it said, "If you're going to bring those people in here, you better get behind the bar." So that's how I got to be a bartender. O'Malley got taken with some of my yarns. So he put me on the Tonight Show with Jack Paar.
Was he a customer that you met there? Or did he own the bar?
Customer, yeah. I didn't own the bar, no. So that's how I got on the Paar Show. So the Tonight Show, and all of a sudden I go from this unknown immigrant I landed with 40 cents in my pocket, and then all of a sudden I'm famous. And people would stop me on the street about how funny I was. And the thing about it is, the first time I was on, I drank so it's for courage. And I was quite half looped by, and I thought you had to do that. But that was my career with the Tonight Show.
People need to know the Tonight Show. That's Jack Paar was the original, I believe, right?
Steve Allen was.
Steve Allen. Okay, yeah. Steve Allen was the original.
Jack Paar succeeded him. Yeah.
All right. And
this was a huge audience all across the country.
You think?
Paar was famous.
So you get this celebrity in New York. You just work your way into being an actor. You go to a bar. You have this bigger than life personality. You're telling tales. They bring you on the Jack Paar show.
Behind the bar. This guy sees me and so forth. Then two guys come into the bar one night and they say, "How about opening up your own bar?" I said, "Okay." So we opened up the first singles bar in New York, Malachy's, 3rd Avenue. And 63rd Street. That was the beginning of that, and then Malachy's too, and then a whole bunch of bars, and then and the guy that had only come back on Sunday to read for the Irish players, the Irish play, I got into that, and then all of a sudden I was swimming in celebrity.
And you were, but what I'm reading too in this book, you were a big celebrity, a big man about town. People wanted to be around you, the sense of fun coming into Malachy's, the Barbizon for women across the street, women coming in finally to the bar, because prior to that, women were not allowed to sit at the bar. Right. At least people think they're prostitutes. Right. Yeah. However, what's interesting to me, and I wanted to get to this too, is that is part of who you are, of course, that big, charming, boisterous man. But the amount you would drink, there's a scene in your book, a monk swimming, where you're downing a bottle, I don't know, of whiskey on a dare. And I have to wonder, because then you spent the summer in Fire Island, and I have to wonder underneath, of course, we're not one thing. As your brother said in Angela's Ashes, we can be a shamrock with different sides of ourselves. Yeah. And two can be, one can be love, one can be fun, but the other can be pain. And I wonder how much of this personality, I have no doubt you would have been a boisterous, fun person regardless of the deprivation, but I wonder how much of the deprivation fueled that over-the-top drinker and partier and man.
Well, behind it all, Maureen, was this fear of poverty again, that it may overtake me here, and I would be dropped into nothingness.
An abyss.
And so this was so I had to keep moving, and then I indeed became alcoholic. I mean, that incident you talked about, I drank a bottle of whiskey one night, and celebrating somebody's birthday, and somebody said, "I'll bet you $100 you couldn't do that again." And I drank another bottle. Now, I should be dead because you can't drink that amount of whiskey and live. But I did.
Apparently you can.
And here I am, I'm 90 as of last week. But I lived. And then I...
When did you stop drinking, Malachy? Excuse me. When did you...
36 years ago.
And what precipitated, was it one day? Was it something, a major incident, or was it just, I'm tired of this? What?
Just what am I doing, you know? And I wrecked one marriage. I was married to Diana, and I was for 19 years. She was very patient, but I think her patience was wearing thin. So I just decided this is it. So I've been married. I'm still married. We are married 56 years, and I'm very happy because I love her. She's a marvelous woman and most beautiful mind and great sense of humor and all of that. So and I love her.
I love hearing that. So how was your life? Explain to people, let me just let people know that I'm speaking with Malachy McCourt. This is part 2 of our chat. He's re-releasing, he just turned 90, his memoir, A Monk Swimming. Get that if you can. It's really, it's an amazing book. And he is out there. He's going to tell you the truth. There's no BS in that. What is life like drinking and then not drinking for a man who had a lot of drink in him?
Drinking alcohol to excess leads you to, you go seeking the unattainable. You don't quite know what you want. It's a life, it's puzzled, and it's misdirected. It is alcoholism, of course, is an addiction, and no matter how much you drank, it wasn't enough. And that's it. And then you go to bed and you wake up, you have a horrendous hangover, and you wonder, what did I say? What did I do last night? Where was I? I mean, I did things when I was getting the first divorce, I did crazy things. I didn't end up, but I did. I smuggled gold to India. I did make 6 trips. And at that time, Americans were not supposed to possess bullion, it was against the law. And here am I carrying all this gold into India. And had I been caught, it would have been 5 years in jail, but that would have been, it meant death, because Westerners do not survive Indian jails. So that it was. So I did that for about a year.
Wow.
6 times, back and forth. And there it was. That was one of the things I describe in the Monk Swimming, and those trips and the insanity of that.
But it is insane. It's totally insane. But I guess you're not having your right mind about you, your wits. But you do have to tell this one story. It's insane, but it is funny. But it's insane about the coat check. When they insisted you check, please tell that story. It's so insane.
I used to go around various places. Anyway, so it was winter time, and I had a car belonging to a friend named Hugh McGill, and I was returning it. So I drove over to the east side, and he said to meet him at this. It was a very fancy restaurant, really. So I parked the car and got out of them, put the coat, my overcoat on, and went back in, went into this bar. And so I went up to the bar. McGill hadn't arrived yet, so I said, "I'll have a double Irish whiskey, please." And he said, "Would you please check your coat?" I said, "No, I won't be staying long," and so on. Sir, he said, "You have to, it's policy of the house that you have to check your coat." I said, "I don't want to check my coat."
No, stupid
"Well, I
rule.
can't serve you then." "Oh," I said. So I went back out to the car, fuming, and then I took off the coat and I took off my jacket and my shirt and my t-shirt and my trousers and my underwear. And I put on the overcoat and I went back in to the bar. So as I went in, I went up to the bar and he listened and he said, "I told you, I don't want you, I can't serve you unless you check the coat." I said, "Okay, get the hat check, girl." So he called her down to the bar and she said, "Check your coat, sir." I said, "Certainly." So off the coat came, and there I am, stark naked, in the middle of the bar. Well, the screams and the outrage and the upsetness of things being laid down on the table and everything, and the bartender leaps over the bar and he goes, he didn't know what to do. I mean, what do you do with a naked man? And she's standing there with the coat absolutely paralyzed, holding it up and hadn't moved. And so all these and the people came out of the kitchen and the cooks and everybody, and people are all milling around me, and they pushed me out into the street, totally naked. And there I am standing in the middle of the sidewalk with, New Yorkers passing by, and
Oh my God, and
they're,
you're naked.
yeah, they're just going around. "Oh, there's another naked man."
Another naked man. What bar was this, Malachy? Do you
I have
recall?
no idea. I can't remember. It was a restaurant. It was a fancy restaurant. It wasn't really a bar.
Oh
But
Lord.
anyway, I'm standing there naked with people passing me by. And so I thought I have to get my coat. So because I had put my keys of the car in the overcoat pocket, you see. So
Yes.
then I opened the door and I went in. She's still standing there, paralyzed. And I went to grab the coat from her and she collapsed on the floor.
Oh, no.
And then,
He's back. He's back.
oh,
Help me.
yeah,
There's a penis. There's your dangling participle. There it is, Malachy. Oh my
well,
goodness.
I grabbed the coat anyway.
And ran.
I'm dragging it out and she's holding on to it. And she comes out the door with me, and they think now that I'm assaulting her, but she won't let go of the bloody coat. But finally, she did, and I ran down the street with the coat, got the keys out, and jumped in the car and drove off. And
You're out of your
well,
mind.
so that was
This,
my naked
your nakedness.
my nakedness. Yeah.
This is one of the many stories in Malachy McCourt's book, A Monk Swimming. Somebody's asking this question, was there and I'm sure you get asked this often, was there a sibling rivalry between you and Frank because of the writing or just in general?
Not at all. Frank was always more. Frank went back to school. Frank got degrees. He was well educated. He was a great, beloved teacher and a great man. I loved his mind. He had a lovely, he had a great sense of humor, and he laughed at all my escapades, and we got along very well. I miss him dearly. I loved him. I loved that man. He was just one of the grandest human beings. No, there was no. And but when he got Angela's Ashes published, that was the only reason I got published. Somebody came to me and said, John Webber, who's republishing Bunk Swimming, and John Webber was the one that suggested I write a book. That he thought I could write a book. I didn't think I could, because I had never put a pen to paper. 66 years old, yeah, I'm 66. And then all of a sudden I'm writing, and I couldn't wait to see what I had to say next, because it was like when I was on the radio with the WMCA for 7 years doing talk shows, I was just enamored of myself. I couldn't get over myself. All my talk, listening to myself, laughing and having a great time.
Well, they say that writing is just thinking and thoughts and stories just manifested. You just take them and put them in words, and you have that in you. Your stories are very funny and honest and poignant, different styles. But what I love is you come from a family. I'm from a big family. There's enough for each person to have success.
There is, yeah. Alfie wrote books, and Mike went to California, and he became one of the most beloved bartenders in San Francisco when he died there a few years ago. And he got more, the obituaries were front page in San Francisco papers.
I had read about his obituary.
And they said there are no celebrities in San Francisco except for Mike McCourt. What a compliment.
I had read his obituary. I don't know if I was doing it in research or was at the time, because I don't know when he passed. But what bar was he at? Do you recall?
Bunch of bars. He went from bar to bar. He was so popular that wherever he went, crowds followed him.
What year did he pass, Malachy?
It was about 6 years ago.
Because I was doing my one-person show out in San Francisco, daughter of a garbage man, and I recall reading about that. Yeah. What I wanted to ask you too, when is Among Swimming being re-released?
I think it's next week, about 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
All right, so soon in October. Yeah. I have to tell you, you probably don't recall, and that's okay, but I recall when I first met you, and I first met Frank and a group of writers and troublemakers and pontificators at Eamon Durrance, the First Fridays Club. So first Friday of every month, a group would meet at Eamon Durrance around the block from my apartment. And I remember a wonderful woman I worked with at Bloomberg named Mary Tierney would invite me to join. And she said, but we have to sit at the ladies' table. I don't know if it's the Rosary table, the Mary table, the Lady of Mary. I go, but I want to hang out with the guys. Can't we hang out with the guys too? Why can't we hang out with them too? I want to hang out with them. Yeah. All of us, And I just remember watching. And then years went by, and I would say about 5 years or so, we used to meet at Rosie O'Grady's. You would meet regularly, and I would pop in on occasion, and I just would take it in and watch and enjoy it.
Well, the First Friday Club came from I bestowed the name of it because it was when we were kids. If you went to Mass and Communion for 9 First Fridays, you were guaranteed not to die without a priest. And I said, if you do 9 of our First Fridays, you're guaranteed to die with a bartender in attendance. That was mine. That was.
I love it.
We can never get over the religion. It somehow or another, it impregnates our souls when you're brought up Catholic like that.
My mother always says to me, because I like to go hike or run, and my mother's always like, you're hopping, jumping, and skipping instead of going to Mass. What are you, a heathen, a pagan? I said, why did they get such a bad name? They were hopping, jumping, and skipping without the guilt. That's all. That's the only difference. Why can't we hop, jump, and skip? So anyway, what do you think? And before I let you go, and I know you've done a lot in 90 years. And what do you think is the most important accomplishments that you've had so far in your lifetime?
Well, one is, if it's not so much, I wouldn't call it an accomplishment, but the fact that how fortunate I was to meet Diana. and marry her. That is, she's the light of my life, and she keeps me going. I mean, right now I am. I broke my leg in March, and I was told I couldn't stand on it for 6 weeks. So I was in bed, lying in a rehab over there on the east side,
Boy.
and so I'm still not able to get out of bed by myself and walk. So I'm essentially, I feel like I'm paralyzed because I have to be helped up now to
Really?
do everything. Yeah. So that's, I'm in bed now, and that's talking to you, and you could get being helpless like that could make you feel hopeless. But the only thing is that that I have to keep going, and I mean, I'm not. I think I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to write another book, and it's even the subject of it is eluding me. But I'm just sit down and write it. That's it. And of course, I write longhand because I can't type. But I'm still. I have had 10 books published now, and I can't get over that. I'm astonished that I wrote a history of Ireland, and that came out well. Wrote the history of Danny Boy, 3 memoirs, and I put together a collection of Irish literature and stuff like that. But we can all do it, Maureen. It is a thing we should do. We should. It's one. If I wish I had the proverbial dollar for every time somebody has said to me, one of these days I'm going to sit down and
Yeah.
write a book.
Mhm.
Well, come on. It's first of all, you don't have to sit down. Ernest Hemingway stood, and he wrote a book standing, so you don't have to stand. You don't have to start with sitting down there.
Just stand and friggin' write.
Get,
Shut up and write. Right?
get your pen and get on with it, and that is it.
I was
And
about. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just say, never judge your material because you will always find it guilty. Just enjoy it. That's what I say.
I got a book I ordered through because it wasn't currently in print about So You Want to Write. I forget the exact name of it, but it was a woman who was teaching writing in the 1920s and really
Yeah.
telling everybody what you said. And I just ordered it online. It comes to me, and in it, it had the name. It wasn't to me. It was back in the day, Maureen's book. It
Yeah.
said Maureen's book on the inside. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like these things that happen. I was going to let you go and say goodbye, but I did have one more thing to ask you that I forgot to ask. You were saying what a great country America is when a man like you who came from nothing can get sued for $1 million.
Oh,
What
yeah.
you said something on a talk show and somebody sued you, I believe, for libel. Can you just tell
Yes.
that story?
Oh, there was a guy at the bar that I worked in, with Clavins. There was a guy named Buddy Lewis, used to play the piano there. And his father was on the radio at the time, and he was a right-wing commentator named Fulton Lewis. And so Buddy was, he was constantly making anti-Semitic remarks.
Wow.
And I was on a show with it was Mike Wallace. Just he wasn't even on. He wasn't that time he was no big deal. And he said, "What? How about the people in that bar you work?" I said, "They're all good." I said, he said, "Sons of famous people." Yeah, I said, "One guy, he plays the piano there. He's the son of Fulton Lewis Jr." What's he like? Said Mike Wallace. Oh, I said, "He's okay, but he's anti-Semitic." And because he said that he would put all the Jews in the middle of the Sahara Desert and drop a bomb on them. That was it. No, I thought that's anti-Semitism.
You think?
Yeah. So anyway, I said that on the Mike Wallace show, and so Lewis, his father, lost a bunch of sponsors off his radio show because of that, and he blamed me. Of course, he was quite right. He did lose them because of that. So anyway, he sued me for $1 million, and I said I didn't have it. So, but anyway, so we negotiated what we're going to do about this. With I had to, because the station, I said that on, I forget what it was, but the station I said it on anyway. Their lawyers were talking to me, so they said, "Well, what are we going to do about it?" I said, "I don't know. What do you suggest? Would you were sorry you said that? Would you say that?" I said, "No." I said, I was sorry that I was not glad to hear that he'd lost a bunch of sponsors, but that's what happens. So they put that in, and apparently that satisfied the Lewis family.
Well, the truth sometimes hits people where they don't want it to hit them,
Oh, indeed,
unfortunately.
yeah.
What can you do? Listen to me, you. I am so grateful that you took this time to spend with me, Malachy.
Well, thank you very much, love. And how about your book?
Oh, it's coming. The Daughter of a Garbage Man. It's coming. I wrote the one-person show. Now I'll put it in a book.
Okay.
But I feel honored that you were with me. And you have to understand, you said you have another book in you. 90 years of stories to offer, insights to offer, a life lived, and God willing, 20 more, and you're back up and walking, because it's valuable what people have to say, and what you have to say, I cherish. So thank you.
And thank you, love, and continued good shows here. It's wonderful being here with you. You are eloquent and
Very
beautiful.
Very. Keep going.
And you have the way with the words. So,
Well, my mother would say, you say nice things. She'd be like, you're good for nothing. You're going to make her head swell. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm going to say goodbye once I stop this broadcast, but I want to let everybody know my guest, Malachy McCourt. Please get his memoir re-released, A Monk Swimming, and check out all his other books too. Get those. He's done a number of them. And if you want to follow me, Maureen Langan, just follow me, MaureenLangan.com. If you want a host, moderator, or stand-up comedy show for the holidays, reach out. And if you want to support the show, please consider going to Patreon, Venmo, or PayPal. I really thank you for that. This was fabulous, says one of our wonderful viewers, Molly. And you guys, until we meet again, bye, Wig.
No, you cannot leave me like that.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and feel free to share it with a friend.
Please don't go, please.
I'll be back.
Au revoir.